Jedi are being hunted.
I sense this is only a small part of a larger plan.
What are you?
This is the clue we need to unravel the mystery of the Sith.
All right, welcome to a long, long time ago Acolyte review show. The time has come. The hype machine has been in overdrive. The trailers and TV spots have got us intrigued, and the internet has already decided months ago whether it's going to be good or bad. Each week, we're planning to grab a guest from the YouTube community to discuss the latest episode. And as it's a review show, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show yet and you don't want us to ruin it for you, go watch it and come back when you're done. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to get our first guest in to discuss episode 1 and 2 of The Acolyte. It's Mr. Scott Whitehouse. Welcome. Episode 1 then, Scott. Thoughts? What were your opening thoughts on that first episode?
Well, it was interesting. I was quite surprised how much happened in sort of 42 minutes. They seem to move the story on a lot. There was a lot of what we've seen in the trailers and some of the chatter around it sort of seemed to resolve some of those things really quite quickly. It was a shame to see Trinity die so quickly.
Yeah. Do you know what? I had a feeling when they got into that little battle, into that fight, kung fu fight, if you like, I had a feeling that she was going to die quite early on. But when it happened, I thought, okay, it's a bit unusual, but maybe she's going to be in it again in like flashbacks or something.
I think she is. I think I've seen her in other scenes in the trailers.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So
she's definitely back.
The scene where she's killed, it's almost the same trick that the Inquisitors used in Kenobi. I noticed that they throw something at the bartender in the bar on Tatooine, and then the young Jedi reveals himself to protect him. And I thought that was what's going on here, using the same plot device, really. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, Martyn, do you want to take your thoughts on episode 1?
I mean,
initial thoughts.
I woke up. Initial thoughts. I'll do both episodes if you don't mind, because it they just bled into each other. To be honest with you, as I was watching them, and my initial feeling was trepidation before I'd even put it on, because this morning when I woke up, and I think we talked about this before we started recording, it's just been bedlam online today with the hatred and vitriol about this show. So I went into it thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible. What am I letting myself in for? And I actually quite enjoyed it. I have to be honest. I thought it had its problems, absolutely, which we'll probably talk about in a bit. But my overall reaction is I'm quite intrigued by it. I think the story's intrigued me a lot. I've really enjoyed seeing the Jedi of the time. I think you've definitely got hints of the prequel Jedi in some of them, and the bureaucracy and the image and all that sort of stuff is certainly there from the prequels. So yeah, overall, I'm really looking forward, to the whole show, and then I'll judge the thing as a whole. But these first 2 episodes definitely have caught me, and at the end of that episode, like a second episode, I'm already looking forward to next week. So they're my initial thoughts. I quite enjoyed it, to be honest. With you.
Yeah, so in my notes, I've said good start. There's some good action. The story seems okay. And I didn't have any major issues with episode 1. I wasn't blown away by it, but I feel it's done a good sort of thing to set things up. But like Scott said, it's also moved. It felt like it moved quite quickly through the first 2 episodes, especially. We've already lost the two of the 4 Jedi that she's out to get. So it'll be interesting where they take the following 6 episodes.
What do you make of that?
I don't have any qualms with it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite intrigued to know what the 4, you don't know if you want to go into prediction territory now, but the fact that she's after these 4 Jedi, I find fascinating, and I'm really that's kind of what's caught me. I'm kind of I thought it would be the fact that she's a Sith acolyte and she's being trained by a Sith, the Sith apprentice possibly, but actually no, it's like, what did these Jedi do, or in her mind
it's about
did they
revenge,
do?
isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's clearly not just her perception that they've done something as well, because the one Jedi takes his own life because he's obviously he's lived in solitude, and he takes the poison of his own choice. So they clearly feel, and Sol says he's come to terms with it, with something as well. The Kelnocker, the Wookiee, appears to have gone into sort of, he's gone off living as a hermit
solitude,
on that planet. So they obviously all feel that they made some decision that affected May and Osha's family, and that's resulted in in everyone's lives kind of being messed up, and she's coming for revenge. So
absolutely, So that's definitely the thing that's I really want to see where that goes, and it gets to that point where why can't they just release it all in one go so I can just watch the whole thing? It's absolutely painful having to wait weekly to see what's going to happen next. But
waiting a week for a half-hour episode is really
and
you're only going to edge the story along potentially, but the pace it's going, maybe not. Maybe we're going to get a bigger story than we're thinking.
Absolutely, and I often think if we all had the patience and we knew we would be able to get through the 8 weeks without being spoiled, I would be completely up for just waiting and sitting down one day when I knew I had a quiet day where I could just sit and watch them all in a row. Because I think with a lot of these shows, which haven't been the best shows in the world, but when I've rewatched them and I've watched them one after the other, they've actually flowed a lot better and the story has been a bit better. So I wonder in the future, any future series of things, that might be the way to go. But sorry, Adam, tangent, Martyn.
That's all right. No, standard. So what about the sets on the show? What do you make of those? The spaceships, the planets. Are you enjoying those? Anything that particularly stands out?
I thought the Jedi spaceship, the interiors looked I quite liked that. I thought it looked like quite an old ship somehow. It looked kind of lived in. I thought it looked quite good. I thought the sets all pretty good. It didn't look like much use of the volume. There seemed to be some physical sets there.
Martyn, didn't you say they haven't used the volume for this, have they?
No, well, I read that they haven't used the volume at all for this, and it's all either practical effects or standard CGI. And sorry to interrupt, Scott, but I felt that when you went into because you went into several cantinas and town squares and streets, and it seemed very populated with all sorts of aliens, and the bar scene at the beginning where she fights Trinity. I'm going to keep calling that Indara. Sorry, Master Indara. I've watched that fight about 3 or 4 times now, and after the second or third, I was kind of watching in the backgrounds, and it's so well set dressed, and I've heard one of the complaints is this doesn't feel like Star Wars, but I have to kind of disagree with that. I feel that the sets and the town and everything does feel quite not familiar Star Wars, granted, but definitely Star Wars. So and
I think that's the best way to put it. Sorry, I was going to say I think that's the best way to put it, because I couldn't quite figure out. I felt it did feel like Star Wars. You're getting your spaceships and you're getting the clothing that the Jedi wear. It's not maybe what we see in the later films, but it's not far off, is it? And they are Jedi, so there's nothing more to it. And there's plenty of lightsaber. Well, they get the lightsabers out. They haven't used them much just yet. But
that was another complaint I read. Is the Jedi, they're known for using their lightsabers. But then I was sitting there thinking about that, thinking at the time, that's a fair comment. They didn't really use them that much. But at this point in the timeline, they have no need to use their lightsabers because there's not really a threat out there that they can't take. So this new form of force fighting that I've heard has been nicknamed Force Fu. It actually fits quite well, really, because you think, well, if they don't have to use their weapon, why would they? And that as at this point in the timeline, I don't think there is any viable threats to the Jedi, and they all seem to be quite comfortable in their existence, and that's what perhaps leads to their downfall 100 years from now. So we're seeing the start of that now. So again, I'm an overtly positive person, as you know, when it comes to Star Wars, and I'll if I don't like something, I'll say. But if there's a criticism, I always like to sort of analyze that criticism myself. And so far, I've seen a few criticisms I do agree with, like the acting. I think there's some pretty dodgy acting in this show. If you want to go down a few things that I didn't like, there was a couple of real dodgy British accents. Not in terms of they weren't British accents, but just the acting, the British actors. They didn't feel right. They were meant to be there. They shouldn't be there. I don't know. It was odd, and so that kind of was a bit not sure about that. But I mean the things like they don't do that, and why haven't they done this? I mean, there's pretty good reasons for a lot of it. I mean, someone said in one of the comments I was reading earlier, why don't the Jedi sense her when she tried to break into the Jedi temple? And it just popped in my mind. It's like, well, Yoda says in Phantom Menace, the dark side clouds. It's Attack of the Clones. He says, the dark side clouds everything. So there are the reasons for these things, and maybe I'm the one here grasping at straws, and the makers of the show didn't think that. But in my head canon, I can come up for reasons why I can let that go. Does that make sense? I mean, am I being a bit over the top? I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to be accused of being a shill.
No, I don't know. I do feel like there were, episode 2 potentially there were more issues with it, but nothing that really took me away from the show in general. It's just a couple of little bits here and there, really. Like you say, the Padawan I'm not overly fond of. I think she's a bit above her station, but in some respects. But again, didn't take it away from me. From the show for me.
It's a strange relationship she's having with your Fondar character, where she's the one basically making fun of him, making him look a fool. He's making himself look a fool as well. But it does seem above her status. But she's one of the more dynamic performances. I think some of the others are less so. I think Sol's really good. He's quite stoical, and he's probably meant to be a little bit monosyllabic because that's him. But I think when he's in a conversation, I don't know the character of Vanessa Rowe. I've never read any of the High Republic stories. But I know she's a character from there. But I thought she was quite wooden and procedural. She was kind of like the Green Mace Windu of the show, really. I thought she didn't bring very much. I'm sure it excited fans of the High Republic novels, but I'm not sure that they will necessarily have appreciated the performance. I don't know.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, she was very wooden, and some of the way she delivered the dialogue, it was very stunted. And I think I do agree with you. I thought the Padawan's actually quite. I thought because she was played by the girl who played Weapon X in the Logan film. I think someone told me. Yeah. And I thought she was quite typical of perhaps the new generation of Jedi that's perhaps coming out, whereas the other guy, the Fondor guy, is it? I forgot his name already. That's how memorable he is.
Yord,
Yord.
Jedi Knight Yord.
Yeah, he's more like the stoic, by the book, Jedi that we see in in the prequels, perhaps, or perhaps before that. But I mean, I agree. There were some good characters, but Master Sol, I don't know what you guys think, but I felt he was Qui-Gon 2.0.
I really liked. I'm really enjoying his character in this. Actually,
my favorite character. Yeah, he's brilliant. Because, as you know,
he was stoical at times, but then when he brought Asher back from the edge, the smile on his face, he lit up, and that showed kind of the range of the guy's performance, really. And he did that a few times in other little moments where he showed another side to the character. I thought, there's a good actor there. I wasn't
Mm.
sure about some of the other performances that they were necessarily so good.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a character who, just like Qui-Gon, follows the will of the Force rather than perhaps the Jedi who follow the rules and regulations and the doctrines. And I really appreciated that. I thought it's nice to have that sort of throwback to that kind of character. So yeah, I think he's a great character. And asking you both, what did you think of the confrontation between him and May?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I mean, I like kung fu stylings anyway. Like that sort of film, I quite enjoy it. And yeah, to see that in Star Wars, a bit different, but yeah, enjoyable nonetheless. I like the way he took the weapons from her. He was, what would you say the word? Because he obviously didn't want to defeat her or anything. He just wanted to pacify her, if you like, and just stop her in her tracks. And yeah, he was very good about the way he did it, and obviously a very skilled Jedi. So nice. Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a brilliant scene. I thought it was really well done. I thought it kept you guessing. I thought the way it was shot, you'd suddenly see him moving so softly, gently, sometimes with his hands behind his back or something. He was totally in control of what was going on. And already revealed he'd taken all the knives, and then he was in her mind trying to find out who her master was. That was there was a lot. Yeah. There was a lot going on that he was doing, that perhaps wasn't even showing. Thought it was really good.
To add to that, the way she escaped them at the end by just like blowing the smoke up, I quite enjoyed that bit as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was a good way to get out of there. But yeah,
I think I would have taken the opportunity if I was her when she'd done that to just sort of perhaps kill one of them on the way past, because they couldn't see what was going on either. But hey, it's minor quibble. But going back to that fight, I thought that fight had the most Star Wars moment in it for me, and it was the bit I loved the most, where he'd immobilized her and had her floating in the air, and he was using the Force to try and read her mind and find out who her master was. And there was an amazing bit of dialogue where your master has has been so well hidden that even if you knew, you wouldn't be able to tell me, or something like that along those lines. I thought that was
you don't know.
Yeah, even you don't know. I thought it was an absolutely amazing piece of dialogue, and that was the moment I thought, I'm really intrigued about who this Sith Lord is. So that got me really excited for the show. So that was probably my favorite part of both episodes, to be honest with you.
Heading to the end of that episode, then, when we actually see the Wookiee, the Jedi Wookiee Kalnaka. It kind of makes you quite intrigued as to what's going to happen next week, I think.
Definitely.
Quite a good. Well, it'll be good to see a Wookiee Jedi. I think. I know we have seen them before, but just to see it live action. Yeah, I think.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that's.
I think hopefully next week. Hopefully we'll get to see a bit more of him, and he won't just die straight away. But we'll see. I expect.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. There's been a few little moments in the trailers that have sort of shown him with like Jedi robe on, or
that's true.
In lightsaber action, he's like jumping in the air, slashing his lightsaber. So I think we'll definitely be seeing some flashbacks. I know I've done notes, and I know you've done notes. Is there anything in your notes that you wanted to talk about, or you picked up on, or worth mentioning?
There's one thing I noticed in the fights. May's always trying to grab their lightsabers. I don't know if you know. I don't know whether I'm reading too much into that or not. But there's several times you see her sort of like almost reaching the lightsaber. I wonder what she's trying to disarm them. I'm not sure she's going to try and then kill them with it, or whether that's something her master said. You've got to try and take their weapon and.
It's part of the Sith trials. Darth Vader is in one of the novels, or I think it might be a comic books. Darth Vader is sent by Sidious to kill a Jedi, but he's not allowed to have any weapons when he does it. He has to actually defeat them without a lightsaber. Then once he gets if he defeats them, once he gets their lightsaber, he can then bleed the crystal, which is what turns it red. in the lightsaber, which then he's unable to use in his own lightsaber. So that the Sith aren't allowed to have a lightsaber until they do this. So it's part of the trials, I guess, for the Sith Lord. I mean, this might be wrong. It's just what I think. So yeah, she's trying to get
sense. That makes sense. So there was some purpose in those shots. That's what she's makes sense to her potential story, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. That's good. That's
yeah. I quite like it as well. I think it's something existing in canon, even if it's in novels or whatever. But it's something that they've obviously done a bit of research on. So I'm always happy to hear know about that. So yeah. Anything else, Scott?
Any others?
No, I mentioned that. I mean, hapless performances. I thought Yord was mostly hopeless. The overweight Padawan was pretty hopeless.
Oh my god, yeah.
What is he? He's a Jedi Padawan, and I know he's looking through the binoculars. We've lost him, and it was just really, it was poorly delivered, and it just seemed dreadful, really. That much, near the end of that first episode.
I agree. It was terrible.
Couple of questionable. Yeah, couple of questionable performances, of course. Yeah, Martyn, anything left on your notes?
I've got plenty, Adam. You'll be I'll happy to know. Okay, so the first thing I put is there was a lot of Japanese looking locations, and I think even May's outfit was very samurai looking in the way it was made out. So obviously, that's a callback to perhaps George's original vision, but having just finished the series Shogun, that was quite nice because it's a great show. If you haven't seen it, it's really worth checking out.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
It's really good. There were no legacy aliens, which kind of always bugs me a little bit in Disney shows. They don't tend to put a lot of the aliens that we saw in the prequels or the original trilogy. What's wrong with putting an odd Rhodian in the background, or there was a Togrutan, and
I missed that.
Yeah, right. But you would have to zoom in to see it. And there was also, the Padawan of what's his name again, Adam? the guy who annoys us, the shirtless guy, Fondor. No,
Yord Fondor.
Yeah. When they go to the ship at the beginning with the Nemoidians on, which is nice to see the Nemoidians again.
Yes.
The Padawan that was with him, who had sort of a weird, kind of a pointy ears, sort of bit cat-like. She's a Zygerian, I think they're called, and they're in the Clone Wars, and that was in the arc where Anakin and Ahsoka are made slaves, I think. Zygerians, I think they're called. So we've seen that species before in the Clone Wars, so that was cool. What else have I got here?
Was the guy driving the speeder? Was he? I think he appears or that race appears as a pilot in the sequels. Sorry to mention the sequels, but
no. I must have missed him, Scott. I didn't catch him.
Yeah, I think he might be. He might have been one of those. Asti or something was he called? I'm not sure.
Oh yes, Elo Asti. Yeah, I know who you mean.
He might have been one of those. I'm not sure. That's the only one I spotted.
I could, as you'd expect, I don't know the name of the species. My biggest downfall. What else was there? There was I think I've mentioned this, but I put you can already see signs the Jedi starting to become too rigid, dogmatic, and bound by over-the-top rules. Venestra worries more about what the public and the Senate will think about the Jedi being murdered than actually, finding out what happened and sorting the problem out. At first, the fact the Jedi weren't using the lightsabers annoyed me, as I said, but then I kind of put two and two together that they didn't need to use lightsabers. I've already said that. The Sith trial I just mentioned. I thought the suspenseful music, or the music in general, was excellent, and there was some suspenseful music which was nearly note to note like the music from Attack of the Clones. If you rewatch it, obviously we get copyrighted if I play it over the top of this, but it's literally exactly the same, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was a nice little touch. I thought it was quite. If it was meant as an Easter egg, I don't know, but the Osha, is it Osha, the good sister? Yeah. Osha, when she's sent out with that other British guy who was also not particularly great, an actor, went out and they were sent out on top of the ship to fix the shields. And there was the joke later on that Nemoidians told the Jedi that it was the Senate had made it illegal for humans to go out there and do that. The R2 units had to do it. I thought that was quite a funny Easter egg because obviously we see at the beginning of the Phantom Menace R2 and the other 3 R2 units getting sent out to fix the shields on the Naboo cruiser. I thought that was quite funny. It's always great for me to see Coruscant. I love Coruscant. It's my favorite city in Star Wars. I could watch, an entire show set outside of people walking about in that city. That's awesome.
Do you know what, Martyn? I was tempted to make bingo cards with Martyn mentions that Coruscant is his favourite planet. I was so close to making it. And I was just going to hold it up.
We put a little ding on noise every time I say a word. The snow planet Karnak. That she crash lands on in the first episode. That's a planet that's appeared in the Clone Wars. Now, I can't take credit for remembering that. I just read that somewhere, so I wrote that in my notes. Kofar, obviously, that planet that the Wookiees on at the end. I remember in our preview show last week, Adam, you said you'd love to see Kashyyyk turn up in the show, and that was pretty close. I mean, it wasn't far off, kind of a Kashyyyk looking planet. So I thought of you when that came up.
Yeah.
And finally, a little detail that I really, really liked was I love the idea that there are Jedi temples scattered around the galaxy on different planets, kind of like a sheriff station. In a town, in every old West town, there was always a sheriff station. And I thought, wow, that's a fantastic idea because, they were meant to be the guardians of peace and justice, in the old Republic. So, of course, they wouldn't just have the main Jedi temple and then the ones we see in Rebels and stuff like that. They have these little sheriff stations everywhere where if there was trouble in that sector, they'd get sent out.
There's a Jedi there, really.
Yes, they kind of got their own communes of and they all wear their own version of the Jedi robes at each of these stations. So again, it's little things like that for me, which story's most important, character is most important, but these little things in the background, that it's Star Wars is built upon the little things in the background, because it's those little things in the background that keep people looking and rewatching and noticing new things, and I do kind of love that.
Can I just say what little things I didn't see in the background, though, which was kind of,
I know
it was a little bit annoying for me. I didn't see a single astromech droid. There was mention of them, but I didn't see any. So, yeah.
There was a gonk droid, wasn't there? I saw a gonk droid.
There was a gonk,
yeah. But so overall, it was a good start, and I think I would give both episodes together a 6 out of 10. Is my score for the first 2 episodes.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I was on 6.5. Yeah, so that's pretty good going.
Excellent stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that is our thoughts on the first 2 episodes. Let us know in the comments what you liked or didn't like about it. I don't know if I'm setting ourselves up for a bad thing there, but who knows? We'll find out. Big thank you to Scott for coming on and discussing that with us. Thanks, Scott.
Cheers, Scott.
Good.
And being our first guest of the series. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. You're on Instagram, aren't you?
Yeah.
Under, what was your handle?
I think it's just Scott Whitehouse. I think it's got 14 at the end. Scott.Whitehouse 14. I think. But
yeah. So you can find. Yeah, we'll put a link in the description, but you can find all sorts of posts of your collection in there, which is always good. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Bye.